Welcome to episode 4 of Robed Ramen Reviews. My name is Redacted, and here with me I have a box. Inside the box I have 6 types of ramen. This episode marks the start of a 3-part miniseries I'm doing called the Ramen Box. Now in this box there are 6 rare ramens I've never had before. There are 3 kinds of ramen that I can divide these into. There are 2 ramen of the Otogi brand, 2 of the Paldo brand, and 2 that don't fit in. So we're going to start with 2 Otogi brand ramens today. We have hot and spicy ramen and gin ramen. And I don't know what gin ramen means, but hot and spicy is probably going to be hot and spicy. So without further ado, let's kick off this mini-series because as usual, I'm very excited to cook these, I'm very excited to eat these, and I'm very excited to rate these. Let's get into it, and we're going to start with the gin ramen. So before we get into cooking the gin ramen, I'd like to take a brief moment to talk about why this video took much longer to come out. So the first problem is this video was initially supposed to be Thai kitchen noodles. However, upon trying the Thai kitchen noodles, they tasted almost exactly the same as the Simply Asian noodles. The second problem is that after that I tried to do a video on 2 soups. However, one of the soups spilled in the microwave. I'll play the clip now. So, upon putting this thing in the microwave, I messed up. And after that, I lost inspiration for a little while, until I remembered the box, and decided that it would be best to do its own separate series. So, well, this is part of the main line of Robed Ramen Reviews. Think of it as a subsection. So, without further ado, I'm sure you're all itching to see what gin ramen is. So, and it's open. So it turns out that the instructions are actually on the lid. I figured that out after rotating this thing around about 20 times. And it turns out we actually pulled the lid off too far. So we'll remember that next time. But for now we're going to have to cook it with the lid off. But we add the powder soup, which is this. So let's cut that open. Pour this guy in there. And add boiling water. I guess we need to boil some water. So here's the pot we're going to be using, and as usual, we're going to make sure to add enough water so that we can successfully fill it up to the line, because too much is almost always better than too little. That looks good. Let's bring this guy to the stove. So our water here is almost done boiling. We're going to give this about a minute and I'll check back in then. It should be done. So by now the water is clearly done boiling, so we're going to turn this off and pour it in the noodles. Now remember kids, if you're under the age of, make sure you ask a parent before doing this. So let's bring this water over and pour it in. To the line. Ooh, that's a strong smell. Alright, and we're actually going to leave that there so that we have water next time. But let's let this cook for 4 minutes. So our 4-minute timer has just beeped. And that means our gin ramen is ready to be taken back to the table and eaten. So now we're back at the dining table, and I don't notice a very distinct smell from this. I don't notice any smell really, it just kind of smells like hot water. But what you guys are probably interested in are these bad boys. That's right, we finally did it guys, we got chopsticks. So I'm very excited to eat these, so let's just dig right into it. So I'm going to stir this up, and the noodles are pretty stuck together. Actually, usually when you microwave it, they get less blocky while you microwave it, and you just kind of give them that final push by stirring. But it feels like here I've had to do the majority of the breaking up from stirring. And please note that I am not the most experienced chopstick eater. I haven't been doing this that long. So feel free to make fun of me all you like. Let's dig in. Or not. Let's not dig in then. Okay. Let's dig in. It's not a bad flavor. Ooh, that's got a kick. Ooh. Excuse me, that has a kick. Wow. The noodles are a little bit al dente for my liking, which means hard or firm. This feels like basic ramen flavor, but it feels like the peak evolution of basic ramen flavor. It feels like these people at Otogi. These people at Otogi have mastered the ways of making a plain ramen sauce. Very good. I'll check back with you guys. So, without even realizing it, I actually pretty much finished the entire thing of ramen. This ramen is fantastic. I love the kick at the end of eating it. I love how the sauce is very simple, even though it's very bold at the same time. And this gin ramen is fantastic. I still don't know what a gin is, but this is very good. And that means one thing. I have very high expectations for the hot and spicy. Let's take it to the kitchen. Somehow we happen to be out of milk again, so I suppose we're just going to jump back into it with water. Now, you're probably wondering, Redacted, if these are cooked the exact same way, why are you taking them to the kitchen? Well, that's simple. It's because even though these are the same brand, these look very different, and I'm excited to see if they're any different on the inside, or if it's just the box. So now with the wrapping up, let's read the instructions. So the instructions are the exact same as last time, except for we're only cooking it 3 minutes as opposed to the 4 minutes. So let's rip this bad boy halfway open. There we go, you can see it's got a nice half fold there. And take out this packet. Ooh. This packet is significantly less visually appealing than the last one, but nonetheless, we will use it. And of course, add the soup packet. Ooh, that is spicy. And pour it in. Perfect. And reboil that water. So the water is clearly at its final boiling point. So let's bring it over to the ramen and pour it in. Can't actually see the line because of the steam. Is that it? A little bit more. Alright, perfect. And now we're going to close this. Oh. Close. 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 closed. We'll be back in 3 minutes. 3 minutes are up, and I sense a pretty strong smell coming from these guys. Not a lot like the last one. So let's bring it to the table and eat. And while we're stirring this, I'd like to say apologies if the camera seems off, or the lighting is different, or it doesn't seem centered. I recently have a new phone, and I'm not quite used to recording the camera yet. So in time, the videos will be centered and the lighting will look good again. But as for right now, I'm still experimenting. So if you have any suggestions as to how to improve the lighting or the camera angles, drop them down below. But this is stirred, so you know what time it is. Time for our first bite of this. That was a really bad bite. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. It tastes spicy, but not in the way the last one did. It's like a different kind of spicy. It's not necessarily ramen spicy. Can't quite tell what it is though. I'll be back. So I was able to stop myself about halfway through this one, so you don't just see my initial opinions and my ending opinions. We are halfway through, and this is very good. It's not quite as good as the Jin ramen, but this is very spicy, and I like this quite a lot. There are also some things which I believe to be meat floating around. I haven't actually had one of these. It's certainly not meat. However, the rest of the ramen is very good. Excuse my sniffles because this is quite spicy. It is now all liquid at the bottom, so I suppose it's time to move on to the final verdict. And what better way to wash down a hot and spicy meal with a cool glass of water? Okay, and at long last, we've arrived at the final verdict, and since hot and spicy is the one we had most recently, we're going to lead with it. Now, the hot and spicy was, as says in the name, hot and spicy. It wasn't quite the hot and spicy flavor I'm looking for in a ramen. It just kind of felt like a generic spicy flavor as opposed to ramen spicy. However, the spice was very good. The noodles had a fantastic texture and size. There was a little bit less in the bowl than I'd liked, but as you can see, the bowl isn't that large, so that's to be expected. The meat chunks, for lack of a better word, that were floating around didn't taste the best, and the texture was off, but while eating the noodles, they just blended right in. I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10, which would make it the new highest if it weren't for the Jin ramen. The Jin ramen was absolutely fantastic. As I said earlier, it feels like the perfected version of the basic ramen sauce. Something like Maruchan, for example. It's just like that, but it feels like they were able to master the basic ramen flavor and the spice and the vegetables and the powder. This feels like the perfect ramen. Not anything too flamboyant or incredible flavors or a large wacky bowl. Just a small cup, not too an interesting logo, and fantastic flavor. However, I am always one for flamboyancy, so we're going to give this an 8.5 out of 10, which makes it the new king. If you are in a position to buy Jin ramen or hot and spicy or anything from Otogi for that matter, please check them out for yourself. These are two of my favorite ramens I've ever had. And without further ado, that is the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed episode 4 of Robe Ramen Reviews and part 1 of the Ramen Box. Make sure you tune in Saturday for part 2, the Paldo noodles.